Have you ever been against a champion who is all up in your face, punishing you every time you get close, while also dodging your abilities? Well, it's not the champion, it's the player. It's someone who knows how to outplay with movement and positioning knowledge. And in this video, I will be giving you that knowledge. And with these tips, you can win even the worst matchups. And I'll show you by doing it myself. And I'll explain exactly how, exactly when, and why. Tip number 1. How to bait their abilities. This is something you need to be doing regardless of the matchup. And the way to do it is by moving in and out close to their range. And by doing this, they will assume that you're coming into their range and they'll often react with an ability. Another reason for moving like this is that it will keep them guessing. You're basically threatening to attack them constantly. Because think about it, you're not against an advanced AI that plays perfectly. You're against a human player that will make hundreds of mistakes every single game. And just like in real fights, professional players are constantly faking attacks, meaning they are always threatening to attack to keep their opponent guessing, which is really important because if you don't do this, then your enemy will know that you're about to attack every time you run towards them. But remember, this is a skill that you need to practice because you can definitely get it wrong by moving too close. So after the bait, if their ability is a radius around them, then you can only dodge by moving back. If it's a skill shot, then you can move into bait and then sidestep. And you can see that I'm not reacting. Instead, I'm anticipating and dodging early. So basically, I start sidestepping at the same time as they use their ability. Do not overdodge, meaning after you've dodged, do not keep running away. Instead, what you need to do is dodge with the smallest necessary distance between you two to remain close enough to counterattack. It's another skill you see among the best counterpunchers, who dodge ever so slightly and remain in position to counter. It does take practice to get good at because it's easy to mess up, like here against Jax. I bait his stun and then tried dodging with a small enough gap to counterattack, and I just about get it wrong, but you can see what I was trying. So if you've successfully dodged, but you're not in position because you have a shorter range or your abilities on cooldown or you're just not close enough, you can still start positioning aggressively because what will often happen is that they will make the mistake of not respecting your cooldown advantage. And if they don't back off in time, you can win a free trade.
Enemy slain.
Do not take a standard trade in a losing matchup. So in this matchup, I've been outplaying this Fiora up until now by doing everything I've mentioned so far. But then I get overconfident and try fighting her before baiting out any of her abilities, and I end up completely throwing away my entire lead. So this is why in a losing matchup, you have to first dodge their abilities and then go aggressive, not before. This is one of the biggest laning fundamentals. You need to always be paying attention to your low health minions because you know they have to come for it and you need to use this to your advantage. So time your forward movement so you can attack them for free at the same time as they farm. If you start moving too late, you'll miss your chance. But if you move too early, they will just back off, or they will attack you back without losing their last hit. So your aggressive movement needs to be timed right, which again will take practice to get good at.
First blood.
So once you get the timing right to punish last hits, there's still the question of where should you move to position. If you're against a limited AoE ability, then position to the side and make them choose between trading against you or your minions. However, you can't punish every last hit. You need to pick and choose the right moments, especially when you're playing the weaker champion, because if they decide to turn on you instead of last hitting, you're not going to have a good time unless you've already baited some of their abilities. But if you're the stronger champion, then you should definitely be looking to punish their last hits.
Danger. Retreat from the enemy. You have slain an enemy.
So a lot of you are used to last hitting for free, but beyond a certain rank, you'll start encountering players who know how to punish last hits. So I'll give you a simple tip on how to outplay on your last hits. If they are positioning to punish you, you can just move up to last hit and then move right back just before last hit. And now you have the cooldown advantage and a free last hit. So here I take an all-in fight as a level 1 Cassidy against one of the strongest level 1 champions in the game, and she used her Ignite. But I still have more HP at the end of the fight because the fight took place inside my wave. The only reason it was close was because of how terrible of a matchup this is for Kassadin. In any other matchup, this would have been a kill for me. Riven is another monster early game champion who has by far the strongest level 1 all-in in the game, so this time around it was a terrible idea. But thankfully my jungler helps me out and she's forced to flash away. And so with that advantage, I can be more aggressive because I know she's scared of a repeat gank with her flash down, and I also know that she hasn't warded. So here I'm being aggressive, and it's a bluff because I'm pretending that my jungler is still here. But after a while, she feels safe enough to all in. She dodges my slow and closes the gap. However, I stand my ground and fight back because it's a cannon wave, and I still have my Ignite.
You have slain an
Speaking
enemy.
of minions, let me show you the position you should always try to keep your wave in and how to set it up. This is where you want your wave in all matchups for various reasons. It can bite you in the back if your enemies are strong enough to tower dive you with a jungler, but usually this is perfect because it forces the other player to overextend, which makes them easy to gank, while at the same time it makes you impossible to gank. It also gives you space to chase them down if they screw up. If you're the weaker champion, you can farm here perfectly safely, but what will often happen is that they will be desperate to beat you, especially if you're playing a weak laner. And here is when you use tip 1 to bait their abilities, but this time at the edge of the tower range. So now if they mess up here, they won't just lose a cooldown advantage, they will lose the entire lane phase. And I've actually won countless lanes just by keeping the wave here and dancing on the edge to bait out their abilities and a tower shot. And you can set this up every time they push the wave into you. Just tank the minions for a few seconds until your wave arrives. And ideally you want to thin down the incoming wave so you don't take too much damage from it. And you can try thinning it down early if they let you, and you can even do it while you're tanking it. All you really need is one range minion to stay alive, and that'll keep the wave on your side for a while. But if the enemy champion follows his wave to make sure it crashes, then the other thing you can do is clear that wave from your tower before the enemy wave arrives. And now the wave will once again meet closer to your side. However, you can't clear it too early. You need your new wave to be delayed here for a few seconds, but it must leave before the enemy wave crashes. Mid lane is shorter, so you shouldn't delay your wave for as long for the same result. So people think that it's hard to ward against ganks in the mid lane because the jungler can come from any side. But in fact, mid is actually the safest against ganks if you position right. All you need to do is ward one side and position on that side of the lane. Now if the jungler comes from the other side, you'll see him coming early and have enough distance to run away. And if he comes from the warded side, you will also see him coming early. Another tip is that whenever you see the jungler on the map, start positioning on the other side for that same reason. And that way you can save your ward for longer, because it's unlikely that he will ignore all his jungle camps and sprint all the way around just to gank you. So in situations where you're clearly stronger in lane, in my opinion, you should not zone them away from last hits, because the passive gold and experience in Wild Rift is way too high to fully shut anyone down, unlike League PC. This means that denying them is low reward, but at the same time it's high risk, because to deny them you have to position aggressively and up, and that will trigger the enemy jungler's attention. But even if it doesn't, the person you're denying will be spamming his jungler for help, and then when the jungler comes, the champion you're denying will just set up the gank by baiting you in for a fight. So instead of this high risk low reward, I will show you the low risk high reward playstyle. So when you're stronger, they will obviously be scared to last hit and they may position back. So what you need to do is back off to make them feel safe enough to come and last hit. And when they do come to last hit, you need to time your movement perfectly to punish them. And I think this is a much better way to approach this game, because it's more important for you to get ahead in the game overall than it is for you to put your lane opponent behind. So you should play to maximize your gold with kills and turret plates, rather than denying your enemy a few minions but not getting any kills in return. My next guide is similar to this one, and it covers how to position in fights even when you're low HP and have no cooldowns. And I'll show you how you can punish enemy mispositions, which is something that happens in every single fight. And that guide is currently already up on my Patreon for those of you that would like to support my work. And thank you to everyone who has already joined. And also, if you're interested in real discussion about Wild Rift, then join my Discord from the link in the description. Thank you for watching and good luck.